Got into the start gates, and when they said riders ready, I'd blacked out standing there. I remember just zoning out completely. That when they said riders ready, I was like, oh crap, we're in the finals. I had a pretty crazy Olympic post blues after that. Pretty burnt out, wasn't myself. Left the Australian team for 1 year just to really find that love of the sport again. And that cost me 260 grand of my own money. But I really believed that this is what I needed to do. Got to work with Lane Beachley for a little bit as well. You really have to have an obsession like she did. Do everything you can to not leave one stone unturned. So I took a lot of inspiration from that and just applied it to my sport. That was important to share my journey and what I've found has helped, what hasn't helped, really to be proactive in your mental health journey as much as possible and not sort of leave it stagnant while everything moves on.
I do finish Good Humans podcast with the same question for everyone. What does being a good human mean to Belle Brockhoff?
Me, it's just...
What's going on, you good humans? Welcome to guest episode 220 of Good Humans podcast with the very, very special Belle Brockhoff. Belle has gone to the Olympics 3 times for snowboarding, border cross, has come agonisingly close to bringing home a medal. She came 4th in the last Olympics, which she goes really deep into in this episode, which is, quite painful to hear about, but it's just so beautiful to hear the journey that Belle's been on from growing up with her last name that was quite well known in the snowboarding and the snow world. She then found herself doing border cross at about 19 years old, 20 years old, doing her first Olympics at 2021, and just having such an incredible career, traveling the world as a professional snowboarder, representing Australia with the green and gold, and some really, really cool things across her career. She has actually gone through one of the hardest years of her life currently. She broke her wrist at the end of last year, and then she broke her back at the start of this year training for the season. And it's really sad, actually, to be honest, what she's been going through and if she's going to be going to the next Olympics in February next year or not. You'll have to listen to the episode to learn more about where her head's at and, the journey to her recovery and how it's been going. But, really special story. Belle and I actually connected through a Lifeline Mental Health Australian Institute of Support collaboration called the Community Custodians, where all different sports came together, put together 1 or 2 athletes who wanted to stand up for mental health. I was the surfing representative, she was snowboarding, and we got to know each other about 7 years ago. So following her journey has been really cool, and finally getting to catch up for a podcast was really, really fun. Also, a very special time of my life, the 1% Good Club book is out now. It came out on Wednesday this week, the 1st of October. You can now purchase it at thegoodhumanfactory.com. Everything bought on the website will be signed. So if you head over to thegoodhumanfactory.com, you can order one of my books, The 1% Good Club. I'll be signing every copy over on the website. You can also grab any of the other merch over on the website and support the work that I do. And you can find out more about the wellbeing workshops I run and apply for a workshop by clicking on the application form over on the website. We'll be in touch very, very shortly, and that's for corporate, high school, and sporting clubs. And it's really cool to see how deep these workshops are going now and how many people are being impacted. And I can't wait to see how many are impacted by the book as well. So go check out all that stuff over on the website. Also, lastly, hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. Give us a 5-star rating, and we'd love to know what you guys think. So leave us a review, leave us a comment, send me a DM at Cooper Chapman on Instagram, and I would love to know what you think of this episode. It's enough from me. Let's jump into the episode with Belle Brockhoff. Welcome to Good Humans podcast, Belle Brockhoff. How you going, Belle?
Good. Been busy, but overall really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to have this chat. We've known each other for probably, maybe like 6 years now, maybe longer, 7 or 8 years.
Pre-COVID. Yeah,
pre-COVID. We met at the Lifeline Community Custodians activation that the AIS did together, me through surfing, you through snowboarding. You're an Olympian, 3-time Olympian, some incredible results to your name. And it's just so cool to connect through sport, but for something else that's important to us, which was mental health. But that was like 7 years ago. So it's been a long time coming to have a chat on this podcast. But the first question I ask everyone is, what are you grateful for right now today in life?
My circle of family and friends, they've just been unreal. And I think as I've gotten older, I've appreciated them more and more. Yeah.
I love that. Before we go into it, do you want to maybe share what drew your interest into wanting to do something with Lifeline and Beyond Blue? Obviously, mental health is a big important topic to so many people, but there was only probably 15 or maybe 10 of us athletes across all different sports in Australia. So to put your hand up for something like that has to it has to mean something to you that's a bit more than just, mental health is important to me. So what drew you to being part of that community custodians program?
Yeah, so I just got drawn to it because of just personal struggles with mental health, and also just knowing some friends and family who have gone through that, and it touches everyone in all kinds of forms and ways. And for me, like, that was important to share my journey and what I've found has helped, what hasn't helped, what to do, and really to be proactive in your mental health journey as much as possible, and not sort of leave it stagnant while everything moves on. So yeah, those things were really important for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really cool thing. I remember speaking at it, how we kind of had to get up and share, and it was about sort of being able to communicate your message and
Yeah.
being, I guess, just a bit more aware of the things that are going on. But I love what you said there, the idea of taking action and being proactive with your mental health, not just waiting for life to continue to move by and then end up, at the back of the treadmill and be like, oh, wait, I've got a, bit of work before I can get back to a healthy place with my mental health. So I think it's going to be a bit of a theme as we go through this conversation, some of the tips and tricks that you can pass on with people from the ups and downs along your journey. But let's go back to the start. It always makes me very curious, snowboarders in Australia. So do you
Yeah.
want to quickly, before we go back to the start, explain to the people listening right now, I guess, who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm a snowboarder at heart, and I specialize in border cross. And what border cross is if anyone's to speak simply, it's like if anyone's seen BMX racing, it's like that, but on snow, longer track, bigger features, and but less riders on the track at the same time. For those who don't know what it is, then it's four of us athletes lining up in a heat. The gate drops at the same time, and we go over these obstacles, and we have to get down the obstacles, all obstacles, down to the bottom first. And you want to be in the top two, so that goes into the next round. So it's just like each heat that goes through it narrows down the field until you get to the top four athletes, and then that's basically determines positions 1 to 4. So it's intense. Anything can happen. So you want to make sure that you know the track really well, and also the skills of your opponents as well.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. Border cross is like, for anyone, like, I'm trying to like explain how I see border cross. It's like the one sport in snow where you're actually racing shoulder to shoulder with people, and it's like you're trying
Yeah.
to beat people, whereas most other sports are done on like time or points based on the tricks that you do, whereas you guys are like gunning it down the mountain and just like going hard at it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty full on. You just have to be aware of like where everyone's going, what they might do, and just kind of navigate down that track as best as you can. And it does get kind of sketchy sometimes. Sometimes we take some really crazy lines that maybe you'd never think that you'd ever take, and you're like, oh my god, that was wild and awesome. You're motivated for them, but you also want to try to focus on your stuff as well. And hopping into that state of flow as well is really important. And just things, yeah, you just have to try and keep adding different layers of skill and technicality into that as much as possible. But at the same time, we've had people on tour who have, leading by a mile, and they just make a mistake, and that's it for them. So like anything can happen, really. Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a wild sport, and it's in the Winter Olympics. You've been to the last three. I want to catch up to your story because it's really cool. Whenever you hear of Australian winter athletes in the snow sports, it's just like, we don't really have that much snow, but we obviously do have some. But compared to the rest of the world, it's usually not looked at as a snowbound country. So let's go back to the start. Tell me about your childhood. What was life like as a kid? When did the snow get introduced to you? What do I need to know up until you sort of hit high school to understand a bit of context for your life?
Yeah, so on my dad's side, we've got Peter Brockhoff, who went to the Olympic Games, competed once Olympic Games, and then made it to the next one, and then pulled out to personal reasons. And so he's been in sort of that history of dad's side with alpine skiing. And he when I was younger, and I had competed in my first ski school race, I had got silver, and I was really pissed off that I got silver because I really wanted to win. So he came over and brought me my very first bit of ski race wax, and in the next ski school race, I won. So I thought I was pretty good after that. And then just going back to the family history side of things, my aunt Joyce Brockhoff helped a lot of women get into snow sports in Australia. So she's got a run named after her at Hotham, the Brockhoff Run, and there's also a Brockhoff little cafe hut on top. So bit of history there. And then on mum's side, she's nothing to do with sport. She's come from Malaysia. She came here when she was 19 years old and kind of navigated her way here. And mum and dad met at a gliding competition, and things went from there. And I got put on skis when I was 3 years old. I fell in love with it. Was out there first chairlift to last chairlift, and when I was 9 years old, my mum got a snowboard for herself, and I obviously thought, wow, this is a new shiny toy. So I thought, I want to have a crack. So she said, look, get to level Black Kangaroos in ski school and I'll get you a snowboard. So I did that pretty quickly. And then the next year I got onto a snowboard and just never really looked back since. So that's how I got started in. And then it kind of, I remember the first day, even after my first lesson, I just kept trying to snowboard turn. And then eventually I got into competition a few weeks later and just got obsessed with it. And I knew I wanted to go really far in the sport. I just didn't know what kind of discipline. So it could have been really any discipline. I just kind of, I fell into alpine snowboarding, which is like ski racing. And then found that I had a bit more passion in border cross. So I switched over to the sport when I was 19 years old. So
oh wow, yeah. So I wasn't that young. Talk me through your high school experience. Quite often when you do a sport that requires you to spend half of the year kind of down at the snow, not at school, where'd you grow up? Were you close to ski fields or were you
No, so I was born in Melbourne. So my first year of living was in Melbourne, and then we moved up to Byron Bay. So it's just funny that I never got into surf. I got into surfing, but that didn't really work out for me. I had some really nasty surf teachers, so I got really burnt already before I got started. But I grew up in Byron, so we lived in Ewingsdale, which is just outside Byron Bay.
I lived in Ewingsdale for a while.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, no way. We could have been neighbours. Yeah, so I went to the Steiner School just down the road.
Oh, I literally grew up. I mean, not grew up. I when I was 25 in COVID times, I moved to literally a couple hundred meters down the road from the Steiner School.
Oh, no way. That's so cool.
So you went to the Steiner School. So that really sparks my interest. I keep saying that if and when I have kids, I reckon I'll look at some sort of alternate education like Steiner School. So how was the Steiner experience for you?
Yeah, it was great. So for kids like me, I wasn't too interested in sort of the academic sort of side of things, kind of chipped away slower than most of the guys in the class. And to a point where my classmates were reading Harry Potter and I was reading The Hungry Hippo still, sort of thing. So I was liking that, but sport was my interest at the time. So for that, it was kind of cool because they were supportive of your own individual progression as a student.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just more interest in sports. So we didn't stay there too much longer because we had plans to move down to the farm down in Dramana. So my dad's mum passed away and no one was looking after the farm. So we went down there. So I've been to a number of schools throughout New South Wales and Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
And that had its own challenges. So constantly trying to fit in, trying to find new friendship groups, leaving, then finding a new friendship group. So it was never sort of that sort of stability growing up. And I the more I read into it, and there's my parents, they're amazing, but they always have there's strengths and then there's also ways that we could have done things better. And Mum and I talk about it quite a bit. And we'd moved because of the snow sports, couldn't find support for that. We had some teachers marking the role where they said that I was in attendance, even though I was overseas snowboarding or, up at Mount Buller snowboarding. So just stuff like that where we just didn't fit quite right. And 7 schools later, we landed in the Peninsula School and they were very supportive. So finished year 9 to year 12 up there. So yeah.
Where's that closer to the snow?
No, it's down Mount Liza in Victoria. So just down the coast a bit away from Melbourne. But from here, South Yarra to the snow is about 3 hours. From Dramana to the snow, where I was spent my next half of growing up, was about a 4-hour drive. So
okay,
yeah, it's not that far. Yeah, and we've got 5 resorts that we can choose from, and Yeah, it is a lot of fun. I think we have the best personally in terms of the opportunity to be on snow compared to Europeans and Americans and Canadians.
What, you think Australians have the best setup to be on the
Yeah,
snow?
absolutely. So like right now, like you can go to Suspe, which is a glacier in Switzerland, and you can train on the snow, but it's quite dirty. So it shreds your base of your board and skis. So you want to have old set of skis, which are probably slow. But here in Australia, like, we've just had one of the best seasons in since COVID, really, and from probably middle June to even now, it's probably going to extend to end of September. You can get a few months of decent on snow training and really get ahead. I know a lot of other teams, and we only do it coming into the Olympics. We all tend to do more on snow time coming into the Olympics. When I look at like the more progressive sports, like alpine skiing has been around for like so long. They're barely off snow more than a month. So like, picking those things up, I'm like, well, we should try and rinse and repeat that every single year rather than saying, oh, Olympics is coming, we should do more. Which, they are doing more. There's teams in Argentina right now, there's teams in Suspe, there's teams, this and that. Not to say anything saying all that, because I don't know what I know. So
you think Aussies have a pretty good setup because you've got such a good our winter, but then obviously you're going to be overseas for the winter of the northern hemi, which is like where most of your competitions and most of your season will be kept. So it's like your off season, you get to be at home, sort of still training. I like the way that you talk about that. Talk to me about the end of high school, what you thought you were going to be following and chasing in life. Were you already pretty successful? When did you start? Because you said 19, you didn't move over to border cross. So after school, before you even start doing the sport that you've now, represented the country at the Olympics in. So what did the end of high school look like for you? Because I know you've also studied commerce. So dare I say you learned how to read eventually, and you're pretty good with that stuff now. So what was the end of high school like? Where did you think life was going to go, and then how did it end up following the snow?
So I never looking back, I'm like, I could have been a little more proactive because I knew I was going to finish year 12 and I wanted to, and I could have been proactive with mapping out maybe my life sort of post snowboarding, but you don't even think about that when you're like, no, this is exactly what I want to do. So, taking that aside, I just kind of just did whatever subjects that kind of took my interest just to get to year 12 and finish it off, I never saw myself going to uni because I just wanted to snowboard. And, when I was 19, when I was 17, I did my first World Cup when I was 17 for alpine snowboarding in Telluride, Colorado. I came 36. So almost last, but I was there for the experience. It was so cool. I was seeing like the behind the scenes, I was stoked. Like, this is the best of the best here. And I get to see everything that goes, into these snowboards. And, came back after that, after a few seasons like that. And then, after year 12, graduated and then just started following the winters, like full on, and got to around end of 18 years old, and I thought, I think I want to go into border cross. There's a lot more support there as well. We have Chumpy, Alex Chumpy Pullen. We've got Damon Halo there. There's well-established sort of team there and a head coach. So I went and changed sports and had to really work really hard at retraining how I turn, how I look at the course, learning to jump better, and just really change up everything. It's a completely different snowboard between an alpine snowboard to a border cross board. An alpine snowboard's a lot more like skiing. So you have like Esther Ledecker, who won both gold medals in downhill skiing and alpine snowboarding.
Oh, wow.
At Pyeongchang 2018, she, I can see how the switch can be a lot easier. Not to say that what she does is easy at all. Like, what she does is phenomenal, but there's a lot more like closely correlated compared to alpine snowboarding to border cross. So going back to my career, it's like I had to train really hard because I was competing against girls who had been on the snowboard cross board since they were like 14, 13 years old. So, yeah, so quickly found that, like in any sort of sport with any young athlete coming through, that your skill set comes up very quickly and then it just kind of tapers a bit. So, yeah.
Yeah, wow. So you make the change over. I'm going to try, as far as I know, alpine snowboarding is like racing down, like the timer starts, you get to the bottom, you got to go around all the gates.
Yep.
Your speed is how fast. Yeah, because then when you're racing against people and having to take different lines, it completely would change everything. Different board, many, many different things. When was the first Olympics that you competed in off the back of that changeover?
2014 Olympic Games, Sochi, Russia. So out of all the ceremonies I've been to, of the three, they had the biggest stadium, the biggest crowd. I think it was pretty incredible, actually. And I was just stoked to be there. Obviously, it was my first Olympic Games. I hadn't been in the sport for too long.
Yeah, how old were you there, and how long had you been doing bordercross before?
So 21 years old. So yeah,
so
19.
2 years of bordercross, and then you made the team.
Yeah. So like it was very full on. And as a young athlete, you're very excited, you're very motivated. You probably do a lot more on snow time than the more senior guys because of that, and because you're younger, you have this young sort of energy, like an Energizer bunny style. So really, really got after it, and I was very excited. And I know I was up against some of the titans of the sport, like Maëlle Ricard, Lindsay Jacobellis, Dominique Maltais, like the three girls who were just dominating the field. And I still wanted to go there and win. So like I was just full send ahead. And I ended up coming 8th, and I crashed at I got tangled up with Dominique in one of the turns and then crashed off one of the cut-off turns. So yeah, still came 8th, and it's been really cool.
Yeah, wow, 8th in the Olympics, like such an amazing result, such a powerful one. Talk to me about Russia as well. Weren't you in a documentary? I'm sorry, doing a bit of research as we're going. To Russia with Love. Do you want to talk about it? Can you explain it?
Yeah, so a documentary for, I just come out, and I saw that there was, it's quite frowned upon in Russia to be gay, and I'm in different stance about it. Like I'm all for gay rights, and at the same time, I definitely said some things that probably I would have not said if I knew the stuff that I did now, because I was there to be an athlete. I was there to compete at the games. I was invited to Russia. I was a guest in Russia, and yes, there's some things that they don't agree with, but I think you can't. It's really hard to change that, So yeah,
that's the thing. It sounds like you've got a maturity, like, because this is. Sorry to throw that question in there. I was just doing a bit of research, but this is also 11 years ago when you're a young woman who's just come out with your sexuality, and it sounds like now you have a maturity around you to be like, well, other places have different views, and I don't know too much about the story, and I haven't seen the documentary, so I can't comment, but it just sounds nice to see your reflection on sort of the journey that it seems like you've even been on since then.
Yeah, I have. And like I was probably a bit aggressive with what I was saying, and probably didn't think it through as much. I'm not saying that someone came after me and did this, and this. I'm just like, I think I could have been a bit more respectful for a country that's so powerful. It's not to say that I agree with everything that they do, but every Russian that I've met has been so lovely and so nice and so kind, and they know that I date a girl, and they don't care. So it's not the people, and maybe it is some people. Like my mum comes from a country that's predominantly Muslim, and it's still public lashings, death penalty, or life in prison to be gay, openly gay. Wow. So like there's all kinds of things going on in the world, and we're very lucky here in Australia to be here, to be able to walk down the street, hold your partner's hand, and not be worried about, am I going to get dobbed into authorities, or is this going to happen? Like I've traveled to many countries, many poor countries, rich countries, communist countries, dictatorships, and like we're so lucky here. Like it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, well, good on you for using your voice, and standing up for what's true to you and what, is important to you. I think it's it's so special to see the journey that you've been on with that and, be so open about, who you are and get to spread that, because I'm sure there's so many young women, there's so many young men that, are a bit confused with their sexuality or a bit concerned about being their truest self. So having the, conversation that can be a little bit hard at times can make it such a important conversation for so many others. So thanks for sharing that. I was just doing some research and I was like, Trash with Love, maybe I'll throw that in there and ask a question.
No, and I will say this, like in my experience of meeting a lot of people, and I can talk a brick off, like an ear off a brick. Like I love talking to people and getting to know them. And I found that this is for anyone that's like in the closet. Some people take time to accept who you are. And that's because that could be multiple reasons. That could be because of your culture and everything. Forcing who you are onto someone never goes well. Letting them come around to it and opening that world to them is really helpful. But at the end of the day, good humans, for me, they don't care. They don't care who you're dating. They don't care like whether you're like boys, girls, whatever. They just want to know you for you and what you can do with your life and how you treat other people. That's it. Like really, I couldn't care whose sexual preference are. Well, that's what it is. Like, and I feel like that's irrelevant. That's
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. I just anyone who is going to judge somebody for their sexual preference is like, probably not somebody that you really want to be friends with anyway. Or somebody's opinion that doesn't really matter. Let's talk about coming home from that first Olympics. What was your sort of drive after that first Olympics? 8th in the world, first experience getting to be an Olympian. Obviously, some other things that are going on around behind the scenes with that campaign as well. What was the lead out into your second Olympics like, and how'd that one go?
Just got back and just started training and it was just kind of making most of every single day that I could on snow as much as possible and just really mapping out what I need to work on. I kept a diary, so I took notes of every single World Cup I did, every race I did, regardless of the level, and just took notes of what worked, what didn't, what skills that I needed to work on in that race. And then at the end of the season, just cultivate all that sort of data and really map out, okay, well, these are the 3 main things that not really let me down, but like could have been better, which might have led to a better result. And then just made that my focus for the season. And so that's been my whole thing since Sochi, and just keeping that progression up throughout each year. So it was quite simple, and just working with the crew, the Swiss team, which is the development team, and the Australian team, training with them, learning from them as much as possible. I was just so all ears to anyone or any person that could just give me any sort of tip that would help me, and that includes like I got to work with Lane Beachley for a little bit as well, her Stars Foundation. So, getting some tips from her. And she was, she was obsessed with her sport. And I just saw that, you really have to have an obsession like she did, and do everything you can to not leave one stone unturned. So I took a lot of inspiration from that and just applied it to my sport,
Yeah, Lane's incredible. Her story is just like so wild, and the way that how fierce and how competitive she was is just insane. I love what you said there, this idea of taking notes after every race. Whether you won or lost, I'm sure you just learned so much and then be able to pivot and adjust. And I feel like your everyday person maybe doesn't have that self-reflection that is so important as an athlete. And you start to see certain themes continue to come up, so you can have clues of what success looks like. And I'll give an example for me in surfing. Like I do the same thing quite often through my career. After every single heat that I'd surf, I'd write, I started on the inside or I didn't start on the inside. I did that or did that. And then you sort of collate the data, and then you can start to see the certain themes of things that usually lead to success, which I think is such an important one. I want to talk to you now what a year normally looks like for you. Let's talk out of the Olympic year, because I think this is such a fascinating thing for people who live in Australia to understand how much travel your year looks like. So can you talk us through, let's talk about, I mean, it's probably a bad example because you've got an injury and because it's Olympics next year, right, for you guys?
Yeah,
26.
February. Yeah, February.
Oh, we'll catch up to talking to you how you're feeling for that with what's going on in your world. Yeah, let's talk about 2 years ago, before Olympic period, just what a year looks like for you, where you're traveling, where you're competing, how many events you do every year. What is what does the life of a world boardercross snowboarder look like?
Yeah, so we're so lucky we get to do sport, and we usually have 2 major blocks of on snow, which one has the World Cup season in, and one there's more domestic training, like off season. So if I start at the end of the year, since we're towards the end of the year, normally we go over mid-October, mid-November overseas, and we have a good 4 or 5 weeks, sometimes 6 weeks on snow training with different teams. And we train with different teams because the resources going into a boardercross track is a lot. You need a lot of snow, a lot of manpower, money as well, and a willing resort to do it. So we usually pull together resources and we all train together, and it works out pretty well because you get to train with different personalities and everything.
And you get to race probably against people that you're going to race against for the titles and whatnot.
Yeah, correct. So yes, October, November, and then we have our first World Cups kicking off in December. We have Christmas break. We come home for 2 weeks, and then we go back overseas in the new year. And then we basically have competitions throughout those months into end of March, sometimes early April. Come home.
So is it a bunch of World Cups, and then you have a world champion as an overall for all the World Cups, or just
So it's like, it's like Tour de France. You get, all these different stages, and then you've got your yellow jersey, and then in the season you have your overall World Cup winner, which is really cool. So it's an accumulation of, I guess, someone who's done the best at each competition overall. And so we have that, and then we come home and have a week off, 2 weeks off, maybe a month, depending on what each athlete sort of needs. And then we get back into strength and conditioning work for a few weeks, months, and then go into our domestic season straight away. So we have to be quite efficient with how we build our base fitness up, and then how we bring it into the on-snow season, maintain, or even better, increase your strength and conditioning throughout that period, whilst having really good on-snow, freshness for on-snow stuff as well. So it's a bit of a balance. And it's constantly being refined, and we spend the better part of June till September on snow training, and then we have a few weeks off, and then we go overseas again. So it comes around pretty quickly, and we're never really in one place for more than a couple of weeks, really. Yeah,
it's crazy. I'm good friends with another guy who I'm sure you're good friends with. I know you're friends with, Benny Tudhope, and it's just who does the same sport as you in the Paralympics, and it just seems like, oh, sweet, you guys are going snowboarding, but it is so intense. It's just so much time on the snow, which is not easy, and so much time overseas. What about support and funding and sponsorship? Because it's not like a professional support in the sense that you're sponsored by Rip Curl to promote stuff, but can people in boardercross get sponsored, kind of like Burton, or is it more so the people who do the tricks and stuff that are getting sponsorship? It intrigues me. How do you fund their career? Because it's bloody expensive to go to the snow.
Yeah, it's very expensive. So it depends on what kind of contract you have with Australia. End of the day, you have to get funding from the sporting organisation. And there's different contracts. So there's the pro contract, and there's a team contract, a program contract. So the pro contract is what assuming from past history, Valentino Gazzelli is on, Scotty James, Tess Cody, quite a few other athletes are on that, and it's a smaller pool of funding. And that's in place because, Red Bull, Monster, like they've all got the ability to go to them and get funding and good payment from them to fund their sport.
Yeah.
Whatever that may be. I don't know the full specifics of them. Their sponsorships.
Yeah.
With program contracts, they fund in the ballpark of 120 to 130 grand, maybe 140 now, for a program. So you get both coaches provided, plus a third coach coming into the Olympics. Wax techs involved. This is just specific to Bordercross. Wax budget, which is sometimes $50,000 a year. It is wild. It's just stuff you just put on the base of your board. It's kind of like Formula One with like the race tires. There's different tires for different conditions, and your text is like your pit stop. they do all the sciencey stuff, taking like temperatures and stuff and whatever. So, and then you just talk about the boards, and they're like $2 to $3 grand each, customized, and you travel with maybe 10 to 15 of them depending on what your preference is. And then so like there's a lot that goes into it. And so as far as sponsorship goes, having that big contract, there's companies that support that organization with that contract. So say, for example, an apparel brand comes to me and say, hey, we want to offer you 60 grand to promote our stuff. I can't take that contract because it conflicts with the sponsors of the organization.
Yeah.
So it's like 60 grand cash, but then the contract saves me actually $120,000.
Yeah, okay.
So I get it, because as an athlete, you're like, oh, there's this money, but those
support.
those companies don't pay for me to wear their stuff, but I'm getting funded over $100,000. So like it's.
So brands will sponsor the Oz Olympic team, and that's like a pool of athletes that aren't in the pro pool. So those pro pool ones don't get all that support and stuff, or they do as well because they got sponsors that don't need that support.
Yeah, they got sponsors that don't need the full funding amount from the organization.
Yeah. Okay.
However, so for example, my sponsor is Toyota.
Yeah.
They were an Olympic sponsor.
Yeah.
So I could promote them as much as I want, even throughout the Olympics as well. We have that blackout period where people like Valentino can't advertise the Red Bull.
Yeah.
So it's easy to go for Olympic sponsors. It's easy to go for organizational sponsors. So it just depends on each athlete. But there's also work to put into it. I feel like a lot of companies. Actually, all my sponsors aren't even snow sports related. Like I've got Merry People who are gumboots. I've got Toyota, which they make great cars, but it's not.
No specific.
Well, it's great for the snow, driving the snow and everything. Like they have amazing tires, amazing clearance, and then I've got the car. Not because I'm biased towards it, but they're great cars. But they don't make snowboards. People don't make snowboards. Mark Adams, a real estate sponsor, doesn't make snowboards. He builds apartments and houses at the snow. So there's that link as well as Toyota with the cars at the snow. So
for an equipment sponsor, so do you have to buy all your snowboards?
No, I've got a sponsorship with Access. So most of my sponsors aren't in snow sports, with some sort of relation in snow sports. So I should say they don't make snow sports gear. That's what I should say.
Yeah.
And Access make snowboards.
Okay.
So they're my board sponsor. I have been getting free snowboards from them since I was 20 years old, roughly. So it's been a very long time.
Helpful.
Very lucky. But I try and do things for them. So in the past few years, I've produced content for them. Do what I need to do to help them as much as possible, regardless of what my contract says. With Toyota, it's 6 posts a year, and I try and do a bit more because I'm very grateful for them giving me a car and not worry about that cost. So it depends on the athlete. Yeah, and some athletes.
It's such an intricate world, and with all the travel and stuff. Like, what about at all the World Cup events and stuff? Do Team Australia, Australian Olympic Committee, have like a house for the Bordercross athletes to stay at, or like with your coach and stuff, or that comes under that 120 or whatever budget that Snow gives you.
Yeah, so every World Cup we go to, we the team pays for hotel rooms.
Yeah.
We've got designated hotels volunteer if they want to support autocross athletes at the World Cup, and then there's a fixed rate. So I think it must be around €80 per night per person, and that's a fixed rate. So it's regardless of if the hotel's really good or really
So they try their best to make it feasible, or there just would be no sport because like so expensive at the snow. Yeah, to do their best. So important. Let's keep moving through. I want to talk about your last Olympics campaign. How you felt leading into it, how your year had sort of been going leading into it, and then where was the last one? Is in
2022 was the last
22.
one.
Where was Beijing? Yeah, talk me through Beijing, because I mean I watched the final and it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
For many more for me, I can't imagine what it felt like for you. So yeah, talk me through that Olympic campaign, how you felt for the event, making it in the final, and as much as you want to share about the final.
Yeah. So like I came fourth. I was really hoping to win. I felt that I could. And I've beaten those girls many times before. And beyond Beijing, I could still beat them as well. But it was forever who I could perform the best on the day. And to be frank, like I was pretty burnt out. I've been going so hard for so long, and then with COVID, and I didn't feel what was. Yeah, I just got to the final, and I remember just being so burnt out that I just got into the start gates, and when they said riders ready, I had to basically. I'd blacked out standing there. I didn't faint, but I remember just zoning out completely and just being so fried that when they said riders ready, I was like, oh crap, we're in the finals. Like, so yeah, like it I guess, it wasn't that great at all. Like I had a time trials that was the worst time trial I ever got in my history of my career, 18th. So I was like, oh my God, I've already put myself in a shit position. I had last gate choice. So I was always in the crappy start gate. There's always a crap start gate. So I had to make do of that. And I managed to work my way all the way to the finals. So you have all these high, like single digit bibs in the finals, and then number 18, which was me. So, like I just remember, everything I had nothing left to give in the finals, which sucked, which carried over into the to the team event. And like it was, I had a pretty crazy Olympic post blues after that. Pretty burnt out, wasn't myself. And I had to do a lot of things to change everything around. Yeah.
Talk me through winning or getting through the semi-final. So it's like, all right, I'm in the final, because for anyone who's ever watched the Olympics, which is probably everyone, top three get a medal, fourth doesn't. It's like one of the most cruel events in the Olympics is an event where there's four people race to the bottom. Three of you get a medal on, forever Olympic medalists, and one of you misses out. Like it's the most cruel position ever. Did you have, once you won through that semi-final, I know you said you were burnt out once you got to the gate and, you're exhausted. Once you sort of had qualified, was there the feeling of like, all right, I've got to like try and win a gold medal here, I've got my chance? Or was it slowly like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. Like, I'm just trying to like wrap my head around. And if you could, and like, was it on the same day? Did you do that semi like an hour before the final? I'm just trying to wrap my head around if there's any lesson in here for somebody else who, has reached the epitome of something and then, has that flat tire sort of feeling. If there's anything in hindsight that you feel like you could have done to recharge or find that, or it was just completely all gone. So how long was the gap between making the final and competing for a medal? Is there anything in hindsight that you feel you could have done differently?
So the difference between Olympics and World Cup is that World Cup, we have a number of days. So we got training in the morning, one day, time trials the next, and the next day is finals, heats. So we've got all that prep time, right? Olympics, it's training 2 days in a row on the track, and then either a day off for the men to compete or the women to compete straight after that. So it's all in the one day in terms of time trials and heats.
Oh, wow. So time trial, heat, what? And there'll be like 8 heats and it goes to 4, 2, 1?
Yeah, so there's time trials to put you into to sort you out into heats. And then we had a couple hours off, and then we got into the top 16 for the not top 16, 24 girls, top 24 girls. So I came 18th, so I just got in. And then they sorted it out, and we just, we had to wait a couple of hours until we got into the first round.
If you're not in the top fast enough in the time trial, you don't even get a chance to compete in that?
No, don't even get a chance.
So only the top 24 then make it. So it's there's 36, you all race down the track with no one impeding you. The top fastest then get to compete in the border cross racing, and then you whittle it down till you get to a final four.
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly it. So,
and that all happens on the one day. So how many heats did you have to ride on in that final stage? So you raced, didn't have that good of a morning. All right, I snuck in, heart rate, anxiety probably all up. I almost didn't even get a chance. And then you have a pretty good run through heat, quarterfinal, semi-final, and you're like, holy shit, I've made the final there.
Yeah, pretty much. So
but you were just cooked.
I was cooked. So it was crazy because it was almost like, oh my God, get in. Oh, crap, I have to perform here. Bang, 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 finals.
Yeah.
So one thing that got me through every single time was that it was just sitting in the pack and waiting, and I just figured it out, and no one had figured it out. The second last turn, high line. And if you get the high line there, you'll pass everyone. Every single time, you just have to find the right line through the pack, and you'll get into the finish line first, which I did every single heat leading up to the finals. By the time finals got around, I was just so flat that holding that sort of pressure through the turn, because there was quite a bit of G-force in there, I was just like, oh, and so the momentum went, and then everything, to the line just wasn't great. So, that for me, that was it. And of course, it was painful for me, and obviously I know the country was backing me. It's heavy to have, family, friends, people at home, people that you don't even know are supporting you, just kind of feel that weight on your shoulders. And you put a bit of pressure on yourself to that degree as well. But I had a lot of hindsight coming out of that, and I felt that I went too far with some things in my training that didn't actually add to the sport, just because it's what I felt that was great for me at the time, but it wasn't right for the sport, right for me in the sport. And I from that point, I kind of took a year to really, really think things, and then I completely changed everything.
Thank you for sharing, because there was an interview after that was just...
I was crying.
Right. Well, because I just had Harry Garside on, who is, when we're recording this, last week's episode, and obviously he had such high hopes for the Paris Olympics after getting bronze in Tokyo, and then he lost in the first round, fell at the first hurdle, and I remember that interview with him the day after he got a bit of time to compose himself, whereas from recollection, your interview was pretty much right after you, or pretty soon after you had that massive day and then lost, so tough. But just the way that now it looks like you've reflected on that and been it is what it is, and now there's there's further things ahead. So what post that, because now we've got the Olympics coming up next year, what changed for you? What's been the last few years since the Olympics been for you? You broke your back at the start of this year, I know. How's the recovery been? And is next year's Olympics on the cards for you?
Yeah, so I took about a year of just going through the emotions of Olympic blues, and I decided to change a lot of things up. Not the following season. The following season, I got overseas, kind of still half, not 100% there, but just going through the pace and just trying to find my feet again in the sport. And And then, unfortunately, in February, my dad passed away just before the World Championships. So I came home for his funeral and I missed the rest of the season. And then after that, I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to have to, I don't want to watch time just go by. So I changed up a lot of things, predominantly. I changed everything. So I changed my training in the gym completely. I focused on more strength. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions about strength building. There's all kinds of strength stuff that you can do, to a point where I didn't touch any type of cardio at all. My cardio was 20 reps squats for time, double leg, and 80% of your max RM on your shoulders. And that gets your heart rate up big time. And it was a lot of different things that we integrated, like strongman training, and just focus on that power rate ratio and explosivity. And from that, I actually found that I was more explosive and fitter and could do back-to-back days with not feeling tired, like back-to-back full days and not feel tired at all. And what I found personally was that single leg stuff didn't help me at all. Double leg stuff was a whole different sort of system for me. So double leg cardio versus single leg cardio, which is like running or cycling. I had more benefit doing double leg stuff than I did single leg stuff. I felt that I could jump higher. I was more explosive. Because of that, I had to change the shapes of my boards, which took a long time. I went through a season where they weren't working for me, but I was still getting some good results. So that was a good sign that I was somewhat on the track with everything. I left the Australian team for 1 year for personal reasons, just to really find that love of the sport again. And that cost me 260 grand of my own money to do, but I really believe that this is what I needed to do. And because of that, I fell in love with the sport all over again. From just, for me, like, regardless of where I go now, the biggest success for me was going from that burnt out post-Olympics blues, not sure if I wanted to do the sport again, just find that full love again, to a point where every single morning I was waking up early last season, going to the first chair ride and just snowboarding for 5 hours straight, and then coming off the hill and then doing my training and hopping into the airbags and just going nuts. And it was the first point in my life where I felt so athletic and so ready. Then all for it to go to shit this last season. So it's been a roller coaster, but like, oh my God, like I wouldn't change a thing with that. Nah.
Yeah, what a journey. And thank you so much for sharing it. Like, there's not many people in the world that can relate to the feeling of the post-Olympic blues, and to, miss out on a medal by one, and then to have to fully rebuild yourself, to fully, take it on yourself as well. It sounds like by leaving the Oz Olympic team for a while, having to take on that cost yourself must have been a massive, massive undertaking. Are you back with the Oz Olympic team now?
Yeah. So back in there, that was always the plan. I wanted to have time away, but I still wanted to do the sport. And we came back in, and that was last season. And then unfortunately, just things went a bit wrong, not because of the team, but just bad luck in general. But like, I really felt that, like, I broke my wrist, smashed my wrist completely in Switzerland in November, and then came back, had surgeries to fix it. It was completely shattered. It was like gravel between two metal pieces on the x-ray. Came back, had this whole, most of the season off, missed all the training. And I got third in the time trials at the first World Cup back. And that was me, like, not even going at it 100%. So I'm like, oh my God, like, I've got all this sort of prep has made it so efficient for me to come back, and all the training I've done, that I could come in and still be top three. And then come heats, I just got a bit wide in one of the straightaway sections and just lost my footing and broke my back. So not great, but so many positives regardless of these two pretty gnarly injuries.
Yeah, wow. So broke your lower back. Yeah. I mean, you're sitting there talking to me. It looks like you're in pretty high spirits now, moving around pretty well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what's the recovery for that look like? And then with the Olympics in Feb next year, what does that look like for you? Are you still in the team? Are you qualified? Can you compete after having a year and a half, like a year off leading into the Olympics? Maybe it's just what you need and you can come in and, have the zero expectation and just go for it. So what does Olympics look like for you early next year?
It's a really tricky one, and it's very hard for me to decide. Well, it's a very easy solution. It's easy for some, but not easy for me, because I've just had this taste of like, oh my God, like I finally feel on track at the end of my career. I feel like I'm really getting something, getting good traction. But I smashed my spine in the country, Georgia. We had a World Cup there. And how everything was handled, not from my team, but just the handovers between medical stuff over there. I wasn't even put into a neck brace. I wasn't put into anything that mobilized my spine. Pretty much everything they could do besides throwing me off the van, like to injure my spinal cord, they did. There was no protocol, no straps, nothing. Not even Marcel, my coach, one of the coaches on the team, he came down. He was the only one that actually checked my legs to see if I had any feeling left in it because I broke my back. And there's a picture of a guy who put his hand on my back and leant down and put pressure on my back to see if I was okay. There's a picture of it online, and it's just wild. Just there's just no protocols, and getting to the hospital, airlifted to the hospital, having the X-rays there, seeing that my L1 was compressed and shattered. I was very lucky not to hit my spinal cord. And then I kind of spent about a week on my back waiting for insurance to find a suitable surgeon in Europe. Yes, I was on a week on my back. And then I had surgery in Greece. I got extradited out of Georgia, had surgery in Greece, and they put basically a cage around my spine. So they made room, and they put 6 pins in and 2 rods. So the 2 rods are above my L1, so it goes into the T12s, and that's on my spinal cord. So the dilemma that I'm facing right now, and it's been so hard to process still after so many months since the surgery in March, is there's no guarantee and there's no specialist that can say if you crash, you'll become a paraplegic. That is what they're saying. That's what all the specialists are saying. Some of them have been more optimistic. Let's give it a shot. Let's put some protective gear on you and off you go. At the end of the day, it's your decision and there are risks. And others say, forget about your snowboarding, forget about sport in general, just focus on recovery. And then my wrist as well. Like I've had 5 surgeries on it because it has crumbled and it's fallen apart a few times, and I've been trying to fix that. I'm still trying to fix it now. So that's delayed the back rehab a bit. So like things aren't going well overall, but in terms of my spine health, the progression of that has been a lot faster than what I've been told about spine recovery. I also have an amazing strength base, but my ability to squat, say 80 kilos, I'm actually squatting 90 kilos right now. That sort of ability is really meant for a year later, but we managed to do it in 4 months.
Yeah, wow.
By giving the right amount of resting time for the spine, the right amount of core activations, drawing things from like the back godfather, Stuart McGill, and my trainer, he's been amazing as well, being very creative with how he rehabs people in general. So yeah, it's very tricky for me to say, because it's, on the one hand, absolutely it's possible, but there's that risk. And I have these awesome progressions in my training every single day, and it happens every day. But then my analytical mind goes, but Belle, you've got pins in your back. So it's just been like this for this better part of the year.
Oh, yeah.
But regardless, like, you know, I woke up so unmotivated today. Like, I was like, I cannot be bothered with just all of this, but I still try and bring myself to the gym and still do the rehab, because that just shows for me discipline, and that's really important in all aspects of your life. And I need it right now with where my spine's at, and you know, the wrist, we're still sorting it out. it's been a lot. It's been a lot.
Yeah.
But you
Belle,
just,
I'm just
yeah.
so much love going out to you. Like, sounds like you've had such a difficult last 12, like the 18 months, being told by doctors that potentially you could paralyze yourself to go and do the sport you love. It's such a very, very, very hard thing to be told for an athlete. And yeah, when you've got an Olympic campaign around the corner that you're trying to, you know, get redemption from, and
Yeah.
I just feel for you. It's so hard when people get given these ultimatums when it comes to, can you keep doing your sport? And unfortunately, there's too many stories like that of people, you know, breaking things that can't be repaired to the level they were at and not being able to compete anymore. So I just want to say, sending so much good energy your way for a recovery that allows you to continue doing what you love doing, but also, if you can't, to be so proud of the career that you've, you know, done.
Yeah.
And there's so many other things. And I can say that as someone, you know, who has had a professional athlete life and found something on the other side that fulfills me as much, if not more, that whatever happens, there's so many incredible things that you're going to get to do, which I just want to quickly talk about.
Yeah.
What is outside of snowboarding for you? I read somewhere you're into your crypto and you have a commerce degree after someone who said they never would want to go to uni. You've done a degree. So what else is sparking your interest, just to finish up today's chat?
Yeah, just anything and everything. Like, I'm very much interested in crypto. I think it's the future. I think we'll see a lot of blockchain technology come to Australia and globally very, very soon. They've got a talk of a stable coin for AUD.
I saw that. I saw
Yep.
that come out yesterday. Yeah. So
Yep.
what should I be invested in? Where should I put some money? Not financial advice.
I'd say, because I think we're at towards 80% done of the bull market with Bitcoin in general. I think for a long term, if your plan is to buy Bitcoin for long term, go ahead. But just know 74% drawdown, 75%, 80% drawdown on your portfolio is possible. The people who have made great wealth have held the main top 5 cryptocurrencies for long term, and then taking profits in the ballpark of the top and then buying in the bear market. So for people who don't know what bull and bear is, bull is when it goes up, bear is when it goes down. So yeah, so we've got that coming out, and the exciting thing is that shows that countries and regulators are getting on board with it more and more. I think we'll see regulation come out next year, which is really exciting for people who are in crypto. And it makes things so much more, make them faster, more efficient. It takes out the middleman with a lot of things. And that's what blockchain tech is. It is just a better way of doing transactions. As well as, like, you know, you can store so much data on it that never gets manipulated or changed. It never gets corrupted, which is really cool. So massive security in that sense. But 100% do your research and know what you want to do rather than just, you know. So, like, I've got that. And then, like, I've done my commerce degree. I started it because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I picked up a law degree as well. I don't think I'll finish that just because I'm so interested in financial markets. So that's currently on hold for now. And yeah, so all those things there, I have a lot of joy in helping the next generation of athletes coming through. So the door's always open for anyone to talk to me, actually, regardless of what sporting field they're in. Whenever athletes send me a message, I always have so much time for them because it is exciting to see that energy coming through, and I can learn a lot of things from them as well. So yeah, the sport's grown heaps. You know, we've got a lot of girls on the team now, which is really exciting to see, because I used to be the only girl on the watercross team. But yeah, so anything. I've got a few things that are lining up in the sort of financial planning world.
Cool.
That I have a couple ideas where I want to integrate the crypto and blockchain check into bit by bit. How I do that, just depends on the person that I talk to and the company that I talk to. But yeah, all kinds of things. And that's just because like in between all the snowboarding and the crazy, travels and lugging all this baggage
and
around,
injuries.
There's so much time. So yeah.
I love that. Well, thanks for sharing. I think it's really interesting, and it's a bit of a left field one that people probably weren't expecting, to get a little bit of crypto chat to finish the conversation. Which I think, as I said, it's really cool to see your interest just outside of snowboarding. But yeah, the curiosity to try and see what's going to be next as well. I do finish Good Humans podcast with the same question for everyone. So, what does being a good human mean to Belle Brockhoff?
For me, it's just being kind and being open-minded to everyone that you meet. Yeah.
I think that's so well put, and we had some little nice parts in this conversation about your time in Russia and sexuality and being comfortable in your sin. So I think being kind to everyone, having empathy, asking, I wonder what they're going through if you see somebody doing something you don't agree with, and it's a beautiful way to live. I will leave in the show notes your Instagram if anyone wants to find you. Is there anywhere else that you want me to push people towards to learn anything more about you? Anything cool coming up that you want to share?
No, just Instagram pretty much has everything on there. I haven't posted in a while, but it's got most of my stuff on there, and I just share some pretty funny memes and reels whenever I can. So yeah.
Well, amazing. Well, on behalf of all of Australia, thank you so much for, representing a country with so much heart and passion. 3 Olympics, hopefully one more. But if not, I'm sure you're going to have plenty of input onto so many athletes and generations to come of young women snowboarder taking on the world. So thank you so much for everything you've done. And thank you for being so open and honest and coming on Good Humans podcast.
Thank you so much.